Welcome to an exclusive interview with PayCertify CEO Chase Harmer.
My name is Chase Harmer, and I'm the CEO and founder of PayCertify. We're a payments company that operates in the Bay Area.
Where did you get the idea for PayCertify?
Well, when we started PayCertify, I was really big inside of the hotel space. We had a hotel association, and I got that when I was 26 years old. I was traveling all over the country, and we had thousands of hotels on our platform, and I was trying to figure out a way to tie consumers to transactions to eliminate the no-show charges that hotels get when consumers try to not stay at the hotel. So when we actually built out that particular platform to solve that problem, we realized there was a much bigger opportunity inside of the e-commerce space with the same product. We started building out the solution to encompass more than just fraud, but the whole entire payments ecosystem.
What is your typical day like?
Well, I typically wake up at about 5:30 in the morning. I think about going to the gym, but then I realize that I gotta go drink coffee first. And then once I start drinking coffee, I gotta get on my laptop. And then once I start looking at emails, it gets out of control. I think the solution really is balance. It's really easy to get stuck on emails and make it a full-time job. But emails is only part of the day. You actually have to be produce income, and that means that you got to go out and actually get sales leads. So you have to divide your time equally so that you're able to be productive and not just an email monster.
How do you bring your ideas to life?
I have a lot of ideas. So as a CEO and a guy that's into technology, everything is a great idea. There's a lot of shiny objects, and I have super ADD. So every single time that I see a new shiny object, I want to go after that. So I have to get people on my team to put me in check and reel me back in when I get too loose. But I think it's the teamwork makes the dream work. Every single time that I have these ideas, I got to run it by our team and ultimately make sure that it's a fit for our system. And as long as it's a priority that's going to make us a lot of money at the time, we'll go after that and build the technology to make it work.
What is one trend that excites you?
Artificial intelligence. So being in the payments industry, there's a lot of different things that are moving parts that make technology sexy and make fintech a very attractive business to be in. But artificial intelligence is the new wave of how we're going to control, and ultimately machines are going to know, and when you book an airline ticket, it knows that you want to sit in first class, and it knows that you want to have a chicken instead of steak. The way that we rule our lives and run our lives on a daily basis, artificial intelligence helps us navigate those things and make us better decisions, quicker decisions, and ultimately it's the trend that is going to be the future, not just a trend that's now.
Recommend one good habit.
Follow-up. So I'm a sales beast, so follow-up. Without follow-up, there is no sale, especially in my business. So in my business, there's a lot of different businesses where it's a one-time sale, and we're in the reoccurring and residual value business. And in order to get that customer and have them sticky for a long period of time, you got to follow up and follow up and follow up. It takes about 5 or 6 times in most cases to actually get a client to come to the table and do business with us in my particular business. So in order to be successful long-term and have a scalable strategy, follow-up is the key to my success.
What would you tell your younger self?
I started in payments when I was 19 years old, and once I started making residual income, I started doing a million different things because I had all this money coming in and I didn't have to work for it. So I was doing real estate, I was trying to sell cars, I was doing all this other stuff that I thought was going to make me all this other money in addition to the residual income. But what happens is when you concentrate on all these other businesses, that residual income goes away and you're not really stacking those chips. So my dad told me, he said, listen, why the hell are you not concentrating all your time on building this business that you are essentially creating all this wealth? And I had no answer to that. And essentially what happened was I actually had a 10-year-old son, and I basically had to check myself before I wrecked myself. And I actually put all my force and all my effort into building a residual company that was worth millions of dollars and processing billions of dollars today.
That's awesome. What is something you believe in?
Most people don't have the entrepreneurial mindset, and to be an entrepreneur, it takes a special kind of person that's willing to stick through the fucking shit and get his ass kicked and get up again a million times. Most people think it's pretty natural to go back to the state where it's comfortable and I have to stay in the uncomfortable state. Most people don't agree that that's the state that you have to live in and breathe in, but I have to be breathing in that state. Otherwise, it doesn't feel right. Like, I have to have that pressure and that backwards ass feeling every single day, and that stress beating down my chest. And most people can't handle that. And I think that's why most people can't take being entrepreneurs, and they puss out at the end. But ultimately, that's the reason why I am who I am. But most people wouldn't agree that's the way to live your life.
Tell us something you recommend we all do.
When you have sales that come through your funnel, in this sales, so if you operate a sales business like some of my other friends, and you actually get people in the funnel, and a lot of the webinars and the work is done for you. In the sales position that we have to talk consumers and merchants through the sales process. And ultimately that takes, it takes a lot of work, unfortunately. But if you're a sales guy or a sales girl, and you're trying to build a business and you're trying to build a wealth for yourself, the follow-up is the key to ultimately building that wealth and generating a long-term residual business for yourself and your family.
What is the best strategy to grow a business?
Personal branding. So I think, one of the things that I've seen that's really been catapulting our business is just building the personal brand. People are so concerned about just getting a sale and not really taking the time to actually build up your own identity. But the first thing that people do if they don't know who the hell you are is go check out who you are online. And if you don't have a good PR strategy or a way to build your own brand, then somebody else can take you out without even knowing who you are.
How can we overcome past failures?
I've had a lot of failures in my business. So when I started my first credit card company, so I'll take a step back. When I answered an ad when I was 19 years old, and I ran a guy's sales office in the credit card business when I was 19. I had a glimpse at how much money he was making a month back then, and he was a total jackass. And I realized if he can make $50,000 to $100,000 a month, I can do it way better. So I stepped out and I tried to do it on my own. And I got $5,000 from my mom, and I started a company with 3 people. Now, if you start a company with partners, partners is really difficult. And I basically was doing all the work. I was the guy that's doing all the sales. And what I realized was that having partners in business, and if you don't really know who these people are, and you're not really willing to commit yourself to the grand scheme of like marriage, because you are essentially married to these people, then you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure. And I think that was the biggest learning lesson, because I took my mom's $5,000 and I essentially lost it because I had to separate the company, and I essentially had to go scrape up my cents and go build it out myself. But I did do that. But the failure itself taught me that lesson that I have to rely on myself to build this business, and as long as I'm in control and I can build my own empire with the way that I see fit, that's the way that I kind of made that work.
Can you share one business idea?
One business that I think you should get into, or anybody should get into, if they're looking to build a company that's worth a big pile of money at the end, or have a big sales strategy at the end so you can actually make a big paycheck, is a residual value business, whether that's continuity, subscription box. But for me, it was building a merchant services company, and ultimately one client made me money for years. And ultimately, as long as you service those clients, you're going to be able to continue to make that money. And I think if you have a residual business where you're able to put a lot of teeth into the client to make it harder to leave, because if you have a commodity business, someone else can build the same exact model and cut you out, just cut off your legs and essentially lower their prices, and then your residual value is gone. So the more teeth that you have into a merchant, the more value that you're bringing to them, and the harder it is to leave. So I think if you're going to build a residual business, build one that has long scalability. My dad told me that when I told him I was getting into credit cards, one thing about credit card business is people are not going to stop spending money on credit cards. The business always changes, but it's never going to go away. It might go to mobile, it might go to internet, but credit cards isn't going anywhere. So if you want to build a business that has long-term stability, you also want to build a business that you can have a lot of teeth in the merchant, so it makes it harder for them to leave at the end of the day, so you can have that long-term residual value for years to come. In my eyes, the fintech business, the payments business, is the most sexy business around, because money moves everything. Everybody, whether they give a shit about money or claim that they don't, which is a lie anyways, because they have to pay rent, they have to go buy food. Money makes the world go round. So If you're involved in the payments business, it's a safe place to be. And I think if you're looking at building a business that has residual value, the payments business is a good bet.
What is the best $100 you recently spent?
So the best $100 that I spent was taking a merchant out that to sushi that does $400 million a year in credit card processing. That was probably the best $100 that I spent because that meal allowed me to close the deal and get the merchant services business.
What is the best productivity app?
So CRMs are totally clutch to the business that I operate in. When you have multiple facets and multiple lines of revenue coming in, it's hard to manage that, especially when you have a lot of agents that want to get paid as well. So you have to have a CRM that manages all that money on the back end, but ultimately manages all those leads and the funnels coming into the business. One thing that I would recommend is if you do get big enough to build out your own CRM so you don't have to pay a third party that's probably doesn't know enough about your business to even matter anyways, to actually have that third party do that for long term. But that's not until you actually have enough revenue and a case to support that. But CRM definitely.
What is one book you recommend?
One book that I do recommend is The Art of War. The Art of War is basically, it's sales, everything is a battle, and you have to be strategic about the way that you approach merchants and the way that you close sales. So it's a really helpful book, even though it's not directly related to sales in general. The Art of War and Strategic Thinking is, it's a great book to read.
What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is, "You can't climb up the ladder to success with your hands in your pockets." Most people think that success just happens overnight. It's bullshit. It takes a lot of work and it's really hard. And the way that you're going to make it is not a straight line. It's definitely like a Stark chart. It goes up and down and all the way in between. But you have to take your hands out of your pockets to actually make the move. Most people are not willing to put their balls on the line, and you have to put your balls on the line to grow.